Okay, this is going to be a short set of slides on the power of desaturation, or what I like to call why gray is my new best friend. All right, the case for gray. Gray is one of the most important colors in your palette because it offsets all the colors around it. When you're creating maps and plots for presentations, get in the habit of modifying and balancing your color palettes. You want to tame the colors into submission and make sure they're doing what you want them to do. Default settings stink. They rarely work for your benefit. All right, so the case for gray. Use it to accentuate features to focus the eye. Create qualitative context. Demonstrate larger trends without getting competitive. And use it as a device for organizing your graph or the page. I'm going to show you that last. Okay, desaturation is used in art all the time. Here are 3 examples of paintings with very desaturated palettes. But where there is color, the eye is pulled around, creating a more interesting experience. It all works together. The saccade eye movements we talked about, how the eye jerks around, taking in little snapshots of information, how color comes from energy and light. Our cones only perceive color when there is enough light, remember? And how we can create a pattern and a composition on the page to move our viewer's eye around, controlling the way they take in information. So this is a rather disappointing example after those luscious images. But anyway, clearly here we're meant to focus on track. And this is a reminder that color in this situation is a dominant tool over shape, right? We see the groupings created by color as the obvious organizer, well before we discern the groupings created by shape. In fact, shape is almost unhelpful except to help us get a sense of what sport group the outliers belong to. We really just see kind of the overall relationship or trend, and then we look at this group and go, track, when we're looking at height versus percent body fat. And then we would, be looking at these outliers and be tying it back. So another example of using desaturated colors to accentuate and focus attention on specific features. This is a beautiful plot showing change in time. So the dots getting bigger as time passes, and then looking at fertility rate versus life expectancy, comparing the United States and Vietnam. Beautiful. Another example of creating an accent. Also, pay attention to text size, label size, relative to the size and area of the marks. What works? What doesn't work? What adjustments do you need to make to your own charts and graphs? Okay, so there are a lot of examples of other accent color schemes, lots of ways to set these up. These are nominal or categorical accent schemes. You can pair shades of gray with a single or with multiple colors, like here, or you can start with a categorical scheme of your choice and then lighten or desaturate some of them, leaving a few at their full intensity, or you can just use, pre-set up color schemes. You can Google these. You can use an eyedropper to extract the colors. Different programs, whether it's Tableau or ArcGIS Pro or ggplot, they typically have their own color ramps that you can use, but it's possible to customize them. Okay, here's a plot showing the percent change in population from the year 2000 to 2010. All states, interestingly, but Michigan have experienced positive population change or population growth. But you can see here that the western U.S. Appear to be experiencing the highest rates of growth because it's been colored by region. As an example of how the same data can support different stories by using different approaches to color, here's a variation of the same plot that shows us that 2 neighboring southern states, Texas and Louisiana, have experienced among the highest and lowest population growth across the U.S. Texas is growing very quickly, and Louisiana is experiencing, very low rates of growth during the same time period. So again, we still have it colored by region, but we're using color to accentuate. Color implies a break between approaching and mastering. right here. Our eye is drawn to the extremes because of the full intensity of the color. The message is that developing and exceeding are what we should be paying attention to, right? This is student achievement. There is an implied judgment, though, using green and red, and that, bad is red. So by switching to less judgy colors, we take away that implication. So again, warm colors and cool colors, creating a break right here between approaching and mastering some subject, and then using colors that imply a little bit less bias. All right, so we can use gray to demonstrate a larger context. Here we're looking at a bar chart with two types of data. The thin black bar is giving us the performance measure. It's continuous data. The actual revenue, profit order size, and so on. We're decoding using position along a common scale. Actually, not a common scale, I take that back. Position along a scale, we have different values here. But the thicker shaded gray bar in the background is showing a set of evaluative performance measures, ordinal rankings, high performance, acceptable performance, or needs improvement maybe. So it's giving us this larger context. Here's the data another way, but just set up as a vertical bar, just to give you food for thought, I guess, about how you set up your bar charts. Okay, and then finally, we can use gray to organize. Here we're just using it to set up a really subtle background on a bigger page to create a sequence that might be read top to bottom, left to right, or maybe it's just a dashboard that you can take in any order, but it's employing the Gestalt principles of enclosure to create organization in the background, very subtly, without being competitive with the accent marks in the foreground. Okay, that's it.